Thanks for staying tuned. Now it's time to delve into our discussion segment. Following the recent sacking of the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, and 17 lawmakers who defected with him from the PDP on which ticket they were elected to the APC, a court judgment on Monday also sacked 20 members of the Cross River State House of Assembly who defected with the governor of the state, Ben Ayade, from the PDP to the APC. There is some panic in Imo State that 17 out of 27 lawmakers of the State House of Assembly may be sacked by the court. At various times since 2019, the lawmakers in question defected to the APC from the People's Democratic Party, Action Alliance, and the All Progressives Grand Alliance, respectively. Now, to discuss the issue of party defections and the legal implication, as we've seen over the last 2-3 weeks, is still the political technocrat, Dr. Dayo Kayode, who is still with us. Thanks for staying with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, this political defection isn't something new, actually. But what is new is the fact or the recent development that happened to Dave Umahi, where he was sacked for defecting to another party, with a lot of people claiming that, well, the vehicle you rode to power is the PDP, and so you defected to the APC, and so you should also relinquish power. What was your reaction when you heard that judgment?
Yeah, honestly speaking, it's a very good development in our democratic development, okay? Because before now, it has not been happening. But then we're now looking at it. If you drive a particular car to your office, and that car belongs to you. I mean, that car is one that has brought you to the office. If we see that you are taking another car to your house, somebody else must drive that car. Somebody else will have to drive that car, because that car cannot just be there waiting for you. So, if a particular party has taken you to a particular destination, which is the office you are occupying, and you are now saying, okay, I want to enter another vehicle. You want to enter another vehicle. Then that vehicle that has taken you to that place cannot be vacant. Somebody else will have to occupy it. Then you leave that office and let that particular person.
But isn't that a problem of political ideologies or the party ideologies?
I'm
because
coming there.
If we had ideologies in our parties, then should we or would we be having issues such as this?
I'm coming there. It's all about, just because I want our listeners to understand the perspective properly. That's why I'm trying to use a kind of an analogy. But now that you have mentioned the issue of ideology, if you look at party politics in Nigeria before now, in pre-1999, you're going to see that most of our national leaders, especially, they have their political ideologies. They have a particular philosophy which they were following. Okay? And even where you want to see mergers, you don't see them leaving their party for another party. No. They always talk about a kind of alliance between, look at the alliance then between MPP and MPN. MPP and MPN. Even though UPN was in the
Southwest,
and then the well-known opposition. But for MPN to be able to form government then in the House, in the National Assembly, they have to form an alliance so that they can have a majority in National Assembly. But you will never see members of MPP joining MPN. No. Unlike these days, everybody wants to join a winning party. Look at the PDP, look at the APC we have today in government. Amechi was in
PDP.
PDP. He was speaker for 8 years.
8 years, governor.
He was governor 8 years
years.
under PDP. But look at what has happened today. It's now an APC. Why? A party that had brought you up to a political limelight. All of a sudden, you abandon it and then join. So that means along the line, there was nothing guiding you to stay in that party for 60 years other than self. That is where I'm going to, other than self. So virtually over 90% of politicians you are seeing today, they are just there for self. 1. 2, because they are also trying to stay there to fester feathers of those that have put them there, like their godfather.
But is it a new day for justice, for the justice system in Nigeria? Because a lot of people weren't expecting that judgment, especially considering the fact that he moved to the political party at the center. One would expect that there would be a lot of backings, and you know how justice system is being maneuvered in Nigeria.
Much as I appreciate justice, I think Taiwo, right?
Yes.
I gave the first judgment in High Court in Abuja. As much as I want to appreciate him for that gallant judgment, at the same time, what is playing out, we are still watching. You know, Nigerian political system is like season film. That it will be going this way, you'll be healing it. Meanwhile, there is something that they are trying to do, which you are not seeing. Because it's all about intrigues. It's all about intrigues. And we all know that we are not having the kind of independent judiciary that we are still looking for. We are still not having it.
But are we moving towards that direction?
Yes, if there is nothing underneath, because I don't like following anyhow again in this country. If there is nothing underneath, I will say yes. You know, I first of all appreciated Justice Taiwo. Before I started talking about if, do you understand? If there is nothing underneath, then I will say judiciary is now moving in the right direction. But also mark you know there are some lawyers now saying that no, what Justice Taiwo has done is wrong. And these are lawyers. These are SAN. Even saying no to that.
You just preempted my question, which is that those within the judicial system who are of the opinion that the Constitution does not speak exclusively regards the executive in terms of governors, deputy governors, or president and vice presidents. In this regards defections, that it pertains to lawmakers. Now, if you look at the governor's case, that's a precedent that has been set, talking about Ebonyi State governor, and now it has trickled down to the legislature with the lawmakers.
Even in Cross River State.
In Cross River State. Now, beyond fears in Imo and all other parts, all other states where defections have happened, probably even in Edo State, let's look at the cases.
Edo State?
I'm saying possibly in
Edo.
Because
no. He defected before election.
The election.
He defected before election. So that one will not affect. It was the vehicle of PDP
that got
took
into power.
Obaseki
Yes.
to power.
Now let's look at the issue of Umahi and the legal implication if the judgment is upheld. It's now at the appellate courts, and if
which judgment brought Rotimi Amechi into power the other time? Is it not the same thing?
That was a different thing. It was not defection. The issue with Rotimi Amechi was party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what we are now saying is, no, we can draw inference from it. The voters voted for the party, not the individual. So in as much as the voters had voted for the party, if you are vacating that party for another party, then you must also vacate that seat because the seat belongs to that party.
At the time you are talking about, it was still a PDP thing. Amechi was also a PDP member before he got that court judgment that brought him into power.
Yeah, because then people were saying that there should be another election, but they are saying no, there can't be another election because people had voted for PDP.
That was an issue.
So PDP must retain the seat that people had voted for.
That was an issue of primaries, right? It was an issue of PDP primary and all,
and the general election.
But this is not an issue of primary. This is an issue of defection. Now, my question is this: if the appellate court upholds it, and as expected, Umahi takes it down to the Supreme Court and it is upheld, that's a precedent when it comes to dealing with the executive in terms of defections. Now, let's examine the legal implication of what this would amount to in terms of defections across board.
I will still take you to that route in Amechi. Do you understand? The vote being given out is for the party. Okay? And that is exactly what the Constitution is also saying. When you are voting, you are voting for the party. Not yourself. Do you understand? Again, when people are voting for that party, they might look at the personality that party is throwing up. For instance, look at what the Igbo youths are saying, or Hanese youths. They are saying that, look, if a particular party is not giving their ticket, whatever ticket, to the South, that they will move the whole 50 million or the whole 50 million of Igbo. I don't know whether they always have 50 million votes from that place. Do you understand? Away to another party. I don't know whether you understand. So it is the party. Even I want to believe that the appellate court will uphold the judgment of
Justice
Taiwo. I want to believe so. And then mark you again. Some people have been saying it now. I don't know whether Malame or somebody, that the court these days must be mindful of the kind of judgment they rule out. Okay? Should be mindful of the kind of judgment they roll out.
But these are the same people who break the law, because they do not, when you talk about obeying court orders, we've seen this particular administration.
I'm even taking my discussion to another level now. The level is, you see, it was also on this platform that when we're discussing about changing our constitution, or I said, no, we don't need to change our constitution. We only need to change the mindset and then reboot the people that are interpreting these laws. Because at any point in time, they interpret it to suit their own purpose.
But let's look at this party defection issue holistically, especially when you look at the fact that Nigeria constitution is still basically about party politics. And we know that every time election comes, it is about two major political parties. Is it possible to maybe amend the constitution in such a way that we now begin to focus more on the personalities as against looking at the parties? Because eventually, many times, you discover that these parties do not really have a lot to offer. And then we have people who have what it takes to rule or to be in the position of power, but because they do not have the right platforms, they do not get to that position.
All over the world. Is it America? Is it UK? Is it Germany? Anywhere. Even Ghana, that their democracy has somehow developed than that of ours. You always have two major parties. Okay, two major parties.
But it isn't as bad as the situation we have here, where the other political parties
It's not that there are no other parties. We also have other parties.
That's
in
what
America,
I'm saying.
we have.
That's what I'm saying.
But they are not as
prominent
prominent as the two, okay? But the thing is this. Each of those parties always look at the temerity, let me use that word, the temerity of candidates before throwing them up to represent them. Unlike here, we throw candidates up to represent interest of groups or individuals. I don't know whether you understand.
And zoning.
Look at 1999 till date. Even Baba Obasanjo, he was already in his Sota farm. But some people thought, okay, look, let us throw Baba Obasanjo up because of 1, 2, 3. Okay, when Baba Obasanjo got there, we had a lot of people that wanted to be president, capable people. But he looked at all of them. He decided to throw up late Musa Yar'Adua, and then looked at somebody, because don't let us go to that entry. Put Jonathan there. Do you understand? Up till Papa Buhari self. Papa Buhari had already retired. Look at Lagos State. The same. So the issue is, it's not that people should not vote for personalities. It should be personalities. But parties should also learn how to throw. For instance, if anybody should bring up somebody like AFDB president,
Akinwumi
Adesina, no matter the party, either PDP or APC or APGA or NNN or whatever, I will follow him.
You will, but you can't say that for so many
Well,
other
I
people.
said me. I will follow him because he is a personality. Okay? If a party now should throw up somebody like Obi, Peter Obi, I will follow the person. Don't let me mention another name. So that people will not say.
Let's flip this around.
We should, sorry, we should be looking for candidates that are prepared, not candidates that people are throwing up. There are candidates that have already prepared themselves. If I become a governor, if I become the president, these are the things I will do.
But that's not the reality on ground, because we know that party politics is still what is existing.
Understand?
And we have 2 major political parties. But let's flip this around, especially when it comes to the court judgment. The case is in the appeal court now, but what happens if, for instance, the judgment is overturned?
In appeal court?
Yes.
Then it will move straight to Supreme Court.
Yes, I mean at the appeal court and then the Supreme Court and then it's overturned. What would be the implications?
Nothing other than he will stay in his, he will continue as a governor. But if he's been removed also, then PDP will have to put in their person. PDP will have to put in their person. Then it will now be a landmark judgment. In fact, it already is a landmark judgment.
Exactly.
It is a judgment that can set a lot of balls rolling into our
As
future.
we can see in
into
Imo
our
State,
future, into our future political process. Look at what happened in Kogi. Late
Captain Audu.
No. Late Audu. I mean, they say it is for the party that people voted for, and not
the candidate.
Not the candidates. And what happened? So these are issues that are on ground that we now need to be using as puzzles to fill in the gaps of that is existing within our polity.
Just as we wrap up, let's look at, we're looking at the legal implication of these judgments. Now, let's take into cognizance the Electoral Act of 2022. There's a certain clause that has to do with, primaries being held 6 months before the elections and all of that. That parties should field their nominees and all of that. So it gives room for whatever, litigation and all of that. Do you think that would also ease these issues of defections, especially the case of Amechi that you brought up, which was within the PDP primary with Osenobro? So do you think that clause would address issues like this. You've
In fact-
also mentioned that of Faliki
Yeah.
and Yahaya.
You see, number one, let me first of all talk about that clause. Okay, that clause to me is incomplete. They
Okay.
also need to add that the court process or court processes need to be expedited within
That time frame.
that time frame. Because before you know it, some lawyers will come and then they want to be looking for
Stall.
adjournment, putting one spanner there, putting some encumbrances in the process. So that particular clause needs to also stress further
All right.
that see, all these things need to be done within the time frame.
Okay, we'll
Now-
leave it there, Dr. Dayo. I know there's still so much to talk about, but we're pressed for time. We'll take a break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Please stay with us.